was going to leave the comics alone. I wasn't going to read them. I was just going to leave it be because, most people don't really like them. But I thought, you know what, let's subject myself to this. How bad could the comics really be? So I picked up a couple from my friend Captain Jack Sparrow, and yeah, the comics they're not good. Okay, look, I wanted to give it a chance, and I did read all the novels that are available now, because book 3 will be available sometime later this year, or next year, I believe, and I wanted to like it, so don't think that I'm trying to harp on the comics or trying to hate them for no reason, because I gave it a chance. When I read the first book initially, I actually thought it wasn't bad. Obviously, there's a huge problem with the first book and going forward, but if you ignore that first problem and just read it as an independent story, as fan fiction, it's not too bad at first. And then you get to book 2. Book 2 is, without a doubt, one of the most damaging comics to Clementine's character and to The Walking Dead as a whole, because it rips off the characters. It makes the characters so poorly written. It takes a complete nosedive from what the first book was. Well, I guess even then it's still a nosedive, but it's like a sinking ship, and book 2 is a missile on the Titanic. It like destroys the entire thing. It is so much worse than book 1. And really the biggest complaint I have here is that it pulls A Last of Us 2. Yeah, it pulls A Last of Us 2. Now, I'm not referring to any character deaths here, but it pulls A Last of Us 2 with the boat scene. If you guys know what I'm talking about, that cursed boat. That scene happens, and I have no idea why. It's disgusting. It's, below age. Like, that's fucking disgusting. And it happens right at the end of the book. So you're left there wondering what the hell just happened. It's the exact same thing with The Last of Us 2. When that scene happened, people are just like, what the hell am I looking at? What the hell just happened? So that's how book 2 ends, and that's where book 3 is going to pick up. What the hell was what the hell was that? What am I reading right now? First of all, it just makes your choice completely irrelevant, because apparently now Clementine is just full on, she likes this new girl now. So your choices are completely irrelevant. So that's, strike number 1 for this book. And then strike number 2, of course, the awful, the last scene with the boat. That's 2 strikes on its own. And then you've got the fact that the story is so convoluted. You have to go away from this area, we have to go to this area, we have to go up the mountain, we have to go rescue some obscure character, but there's another character stuck in the mountains, so we have to go rescue this guy who happens to know her. It's just full of so many, nonsense. It doesn't make sense for Clementine to be traveling this much. You'd think she would finally retire at the end of this final season, maybe just relax, with her love interests that are there, with AJ, with everyone there. But no, not only does she decide to leave, which is book 1's biggest problem, but also she has memories and she wants to go back, but then she wants to stay and she doesn't know whether she wants to go or leave. And then she wants to stay with this new girl, and then this new girl ends up getting upset with her because she doesn't want to have sex, and then at the end they end up having it anyway, and it's like, what the hell am I reading? What is this? This is not Clementine. This is not a novel based on the character that we've been playing with for the last, 9 years, 10 years. These two are not the same. These two are not the same. They are not the same at all. And if you think so, then you must be in an alternate dimension, because they are not the same character. They are not the same, okay? And the worst part of it all is that it just keeps adding on to the fact that she left and she's out of character. She does not act as herself. Her dialogue is awkward. Really, it gets worse and progressively worse in the second book. This is pretty much just a directed rant at book 2, because book 1 is just, completely does rid of her character. It murders her character. You can consider book 1 the death of Clementine, because her character dies there. Her character dies, her motivations die, and then she leaves, she goes God knows where, and that's where book 2 has to pick up, and book 2 does even more of a disservice. It's like if The Last of Us 2 was both games. If we got a Last of Us 2 storyline for part 1, and then we got it again for part 2. It's exactly like that. It's both equally shitty, or equally killing off the characters motivations, killing off the fact that the characters completely act differently. That's pretty much what these comics are. And I'm not trying to be so hard, because there are some moments in here that are kind of cool. There are some stuff in here that's kind of, interesting. It is kind of stuff we'd like to explore a little bit. If it was in a game, and if it made sense, if she was near, the school, instead of being somewhere in the mountains going off to. She goes off to Taiwan. They bring her to Taiwan. Like, what is this? This is not The Walking Dead. This isn't, Clementine. Who the fuck is gonna go take a plane off to Taiwan? I'm not even lying to you. This happens in book 2. They want to go off to a fucking island near Taiwan. Like, how do you even go from there? The time skips are completely abysmal. You have time skips that go from 3 weeks to 6 months. I'm not even joking with you. Just between both books, you can literally go with a year time span between the final season and these books, because they want to throw in a time skip at the end of every book, at the end of every few chapters, and it's asinine. It's terrible storytelling. It's terrible storytelling because you never have a solid pace. You have a few chapters in one area, boom, 3 weeks later. And then afterwards you have a 6-month later time skip, and you're wondering what the hell happened. What happened to the characters? Did they change at all? What did they go through? What kind of experiences did they go through? Who's dead? Why are there less characters here? Did somebody die? We don't know because they had a time skip, but of course, it goes between 3 weeks, several months to a fucking year. A year has passed and we don't get to see any of that. You don't throw in time skips like that all the time. You sparingly use that. That's something I detest about comic books in general, is when you throw in time skips all the time. It's hard to keep up with what happened and what happened between a certain time period. This is exactly the problem with season 2, for example, where we had not even a 6, we had an 18-month time skip, and we don't know what happened. That was asinine for the storytelling, and that's why a lot of people still have problems with season 2, is because you have that time skip and we have no idea what happened. Like, I wish we got a DLC that explained what happened between season 1 and season 2, or the beginning of season 2 and episode 1 of season 2. I would have liked to see what happened, and that's exactly what I want to see here. We're not seeing too much between the actual time skips other than filler, character romance, filler, and then some random obscure characters show up, and then more filler, and then Clementine hates Lee for some reason. What the fuck? Okay, look, this comic book series is not canon, okay? Regardless of what Skybound says, this is not written by anyone at Telltale. Telltale is not creating this. This is not canon, so do not consider these books canon. I hate that I have to say this because I've been seeing this post all the time about it not being canon, but it's the truth. It is not canon. Do not consider it canon, and you'll be happy with yourself, because this is not the same character between here and here, okay? They are not the same person at all. So do not treat them as such, and you will read these comics much better, because on their own, they're not the worst thing in the world. At least book 1. Book 2 is fucking terrible all around. It is the Last of Us 2 of comic books, okay? It is the Last of Us 2 for The Walking Dead. For the most part, anyway, for the second half. Not the part where, they go golfing. But regardless of that, it is just such a disservice to the character, and really, I really wish I hadn't read this. But I decided to put myself through that agonizing torture because, well, I'm out of ideas, guys. Seriously, I'm out of ideas. But this has certainly been an experience. So if you guys want to check out the comics yourselves, for whatever reason, you can go check it out on Skybound's page. They're supporting it. They're pretty much considering it canon, but no one else is. So you can be just fine not considering it canon. I'm not going to consider it canon. You shouldn't consider it canon. But if you would like to read this yourself, it will be available there. And, of course, just anywhere else you want to go read it. I would not recommend book 2 at all. Book 1, I think, is okay. I know there's that huge plot point, with Clementine leaving. But other than that, it is a decent read. I will admit, it is a decent read. Besides, the character assassinations left and right, I think it's okay. I think it's not half bad. But it doesn't do service to the character at all. Especially not, in future chapters, the end of book 2. And with book 3 coming along the way, it just doesn't hold up. And it's just not written by the same person. It isn't. It's not written by the same guy at all. It's not written by the same people at all. It's not written by the same team. Melissa Hutchinson, I hopefully hasn't read this, because this has not treated her character right. This is not doing her justice. This is not doing Clementine justice. This all around is a complete mess. And hopefully we can get an actual season 5, or a comic, or even a TV show adaptation, or even just another season with Clementine, just to rectify all this, maybe to retcon it. Even just as an epilogue, I would appreciate more than this garbage, than this, absolute disaster of a comic series. It's a trilogy of crap. But that's all I have to say on it. I don't want to rant on it any further, because, like I said, the book 3 isn't out yet, and there's already plenty of hate videos you can find online, so I don't want to really add on to the negativity. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. I could use a new addition to the Dark Ops army. And share this video as well. I'd like to see what other opinions are on the actual comics, if you liked it, if you hated it, like most of us, or if you're indifferent towards it like myself, because I think book 1's okay, so I'm indifferent towards book 1, and I really don't like book 2, but maybe you feel different, maybe you feel opposite. So let me know in the comments below. But thank you guys so much for watching. This is Dark Ops, signing off.